We've opened up for this nice young white oak that actually finally gets some sunlight. Hickory is a low dollar value at all times, so I'll always pick that white oak over hickory any day. So like right here we have greenbrier. It's multiflora rose mixed in with it. Glyphosate and triclopyr are your two main chemicals.
Okay, we'll put it up on the screen.
It's already trying to come back off of buds right underneath the ground, so it's going to come right back.
Yeah, you see the buds right there.
The buds are right there.
If I'm wondering about it, likely a lot of other people are too. Should I do something like you're saying for what we're spraying on the foliar stuff?
This is a calorie pear and or Bradford pear. If you have them on your property, I don't care how you get rid of them, just get rid of them. They're extremely invasive.
Throughout the day here, we'll just go through a few different things and kind of cover a lot of different topics. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us again. This is basically kicking off our summer series. Of course, we always throw turkey hunts and stuff in there, but you try to think of all the things that you do over the years, and we've showed, you know, you always see burning and a lot of some of the timber stuff, but some of the things that we have here with Michael Brenner, he's from Illinois, down at our farm down there. He's doing all the TSI work and all that stuff. We've met him through the FSA and NRCS office down there. Yep. And since what? How much rain do you get down there? About 10 inches?
We're about 8 to 10 inches the other day, and so everything is completely flooded, to say the least, right now.
Right. So, you know, there's a couple of places here, like on our farm. So when Michael weren't working down there since it was so wet, I was like, why don't you come up here and take a look at some of our stuff, and we'll go over there and show you. And most of it is like multiflora rose and stuff. There's areas of our farms that I basically never even go in anymore, and I don't even know if deer are hardly go in it. And we have some of the stuff where we had some of our best deer last year over there, but you try to go in there even to hang a stand or anything, it's just so nasty with that stuff, and you're like, I don't even know if the deer are walking through this or not. So it's probably the same problem that a lot of you guys have. So we thought we'd just go through that and just go with Michael and his guys here and go through some of the problem areas that you see in the timber. Like we do so much stuff in food plots and stuff like that, but I would say, you know, still, no matter what kind of food you have, 80% of their diet is going to be browse, no matter what you have. So, you know, in the last few years, we've really been working on the timber side of it, because that's where they're going to take 90% or 80% of their food that they're going to be eating in the years in your timber. So it just browse. So start working on that. You know, we kind of got the food plot thing down. That's all been hashed over. We'll do that kind of stuff too, but we're really worried about, you know, thinking about timber stuff now. And that whole area of our farm over there, we just kind of abandon it, even for shed hunting. That's where most of the sheds, we try to walk through, they're like, forget this. You can't even walk through it. So it's going, like I said, it was a little bit early right now. So I don't know, maybe we'll just kind of show what you use and how you tackle it, because I'm not even 100% sure how you tackle it. And look at it, like I said, it's early now. It's just starting to leave out, but I thought you could kill it at that time, but that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, we want to wait a little while till you know, after it's flowered and you know, you got more of a foliar system going with the leaves and everything. It's still a little early, but I tell everybody now is the perfect time to actually get in and start seeing what your threat levels are and just how extensive the work needs to be done, because like right now, most of your trees don't have, you know, any leaves on them. So your invasives are usually always your first thing to bud out and leaf out. So we're going to be able to look across the woods and see our multiflora rose, our bush honeysuckle, autumn olive, privet, possibly. I mean, any invasives that are in there we'll be able to easily see right now. And that's the goal. And then we know what level we have, what we can write into a forestry plan to help you identify and everything else. That's the key to this, doing this one right now, is just getting a game plan of how we need to tackle this.
Yeah. See, I thought once it was leaved out that's the time that you could kill it, but that's not the case there. But
yeah, I mean, it's leafing out right now, so we really want it to be about a month and a half later, just because it's growing, but it's not sucking in right now and going down into the system. So if you want to do a stump cut on stuff, it would work right now with, you know, a glyphosate mixture on the stump after you've cut. But I personally like a foliar system a little bit better, just because it goes through the system a little bit faster for me, or easier and better that I've seen. So
well, right. Well, at least you have to cut it all. I mean, if you had to cut all that, I mean, how do you even get in the timber to cut it all?
Multiple ways. You know, I personally do chainsaw method or brush cutter method, and then have somebody following behind or with me with a sprayer, spraying every single stump that you cut.
Yeah. See, I think it just seems like you said it'd be a lot easier with just the big sprayer, the fogger, basically, and just hammer all that stuff.
It's a lot easier and less time consuming. It's just you are in the chemical, so you kind of have to think about that.
Yeah, have the PPE stuff, but it's probably a good thing because by the time we get this video out, it will probably be right around the time that you should be doing that, and that's why we'd like to do like the TV stuff that we've done over the 20 years worth. It's nice, but it's a year after. So it's nice with YouTube stuff. You can put it out right now and you get people, okay, now is the time to go and do it. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one. I mean, obviously we've been in Iowa here for 20 years, and every one of our farms there's at least areas, if not the whole dang thing, is just getting taken over by the multiflora rows. Then I just want to look at a few other things too. I got some fields that had never been planted, but I would just have them in food plots, so they're not like a record of a crop history on them, so you can't really put them into CRP, but they're like on right close to our neighbor's boundary. And like for me, I never like to hunt anywhere like near a boundary. Try to do everything in the middle, and we've had these in food plots over the years, but then all of a sudden you start noticing like 1 stand, 2 stand, 3 stands, box blinds. They're basically sitting around your fence line. You're like, all right, we need to get that food source out of there. I'd rather have a bedding so they're not going farther and then coming to us. I want to just keep them on us and then moving into the middle.
How can we pull the deer into the inside?
Yeah, I just wondered about the different like programs, because like for that you can't put it into CRP because it doesn't have a crop history.
Yep.
Although it's been, and we've had a corn and bean rotation in it for years, but since I'm not harvesting it, and they're big fields, they're like 10 acres each, so it's like 20 acres down there. So it's actually, you could harvest it, but then, but we just use them for food plots. But, we did a thing like last year with some CSP, which we've done around here, which would be perfect for that. Yes. But then we're talking to some other things with trees, or, you were talking about when we were talking on the phone, was some things that you put in yours, and that had some of the trees and stuff in there. So I just want to go over a couple other plans for those fields and stuff. And then even like the TSI, we've done quite a bit of that, just, laying hinge cutting trees, cutting the trees, whatever. But, we were just kind of going and doing what we think. So I just want to see what your opinion is. Like, so we have some of these ridges over here that are just wide open. And, it's just nice to see somebody else's view and how many you think or how much you take. And, some people are basically clear everything, leave big wide open stuff. Some people just do a little bit here and there. But so just kind of interested to get your view, someone that does it for a living, because we just do it. Go out and do it and say, okay, this looks good.
So, I mean, like for me, when I do TSI, I always want to listen to the client and see what their goals are. Are you wanting? I mean, most people's goals are, I want to have a timber value in my sale someday for money. Yeah. But hey, I also want it to be for whitetail and turkey might. So I always take those into consideration of what trees I want to leave. I love to try to have 16-foot logs on a property. That way, when we do bid it out for logging on a forestry contract, a logger likes 8-foot logs, but he loves 16-foot logs because it's less diesel to get those logs on the property in 7/8. So these are all things I just kind of take into consideration whenever I start doing timber stand improvement. And like I said, biggest thing is listening to the landowner, what their objective goals are for this property.
Right.
And with you, we've talked about you're a whitetail hunter. So
right.
I know, hey, I want to leave. I love my white oaks and I love my red oaks because we're going to get the acorns and dropping. And if we open up our canopy enough and get the basal acre down, we're going to get nice regeneration growth of oaks and hickories and hardwoods, which is just young growth that they're going to sit there, eat in, stay in the woods, and hold the deer in one specific area, hopefully.
Right.
So by doing that, a lot of maple, elm, mulberry, junk wood that never really makes a good log or isn't as valuable as oak or hickory or anything, that's what we'll target on most sites.
All right. So what we'll do is there's a lot of different things that we'll look at. So we're just kind of talking about a few of them. But for me, like number one is how do we just take back that part of our farm? Like I said, there's been parts of this farm that you just don't even go in anymore. And I don't know the deer really go in it much anymore either because it's so nasty. We'll start with that, and then we'll just go over a bunch of things. I just got to think of things that I haven't seen on YouTube before, or something that's, you know, if I'm wondering about it, likely a lot of other people are too. So we'll just, throughout the day here, we'll just go through a few different things and kind of cover a lot of different topics. And even though we're not going to be able to do killing all that stuff now, we can do an example of it. But like I said, if it's a month from now, that'll be perfect, because by the time this comes out, that'll be the time to get out and do it, and we'll go and do it at that time as well. But let's just go take a look at it right now, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about anyway.
Sounds great.
It's a mess. All right, well, this is the area. As you can see, we went across the creek right there, all the way to this. Like, is that normal? Like, it follows the creeks, like you were saying, coming here, but there's like a creek down there, but you basically lost this whole part of the farm. Like I said, we have beautiful alfalfa there and a bean field up here. So so many of the deer are here. Like, they like these fields and stuff, but I don't even know where they bed. They probably got the little pockets that they can bed in here. But you know, for us, trying to hunt it or anything, you can't even walk in it.
Yeah, well, as you can see, the deer even moving away from it and making their paths, where they're not walking right through it, because they don't even want to be in it right now. So, well,
that's the thing. It's like that's why we have a stand right there. You can see that the highways there. There's just very few places when they get a trail they can walk through clear. So it does funnel them down and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't think they can't utilize most of the land here. And like for us, we try to, if we go through all this stuff, we'll probably find a bunch of sheds, because there's a lot of deer that stayed right here between these two food plots, and they travel back and forth through this stuff. But we can't even walk through it to shed hunt. But I just feel like this is such a good area of the farm, both this whole end over here, and we kind of just lost it.
It's another, like we were talking, it's isolated right now, kind of in the waterways, but give it another couple years and it'll have made its way all the way up into here, and now you've lost even more of your hunting ground to it.
Right, and it's really, is going that way. It's going north, and that gets into our bigger timber. It's narrower right here, but then it goes into our big timber, but it's already swallowed up this whole side here.
Yep.
So, like I said, now it is a little bit early. I thought it was more of it was green, but see, some of it isn't even leafed out yet.
Yep.
But at least we can kind of, say what,
good idea of it.
how to handle it. But you can look at this for people, maybe you don't have stuff like this, but you look through here, it's just almost like too big to handle. It's like, how would you even do something like that?
Yep.
And that's where you come in.
Yep.
How do we do that? Because, because it's like, I don't know how you'd even walk through it hardly.
Yep.
But I suppose if you get 3 or 4 guys, and if you can shoot 30 feet out or whatever with those things, and just get 60 yards apart or something, just
kind of
take
so you don't
one time.
overwhelm yourself. You want to try to do like a quadrant, or like you said, 3 or 4 guys, working side by side, going zigzag back and forth pattern, to where you're hitting a good 85-95% coverage rate, or 100, and that you're gonna miss stuff, but you're gonna get the majority of it.
Right.
Deal.
Well, the nice thing about that is, like, all those invasives are the first ones to green up. So we can go look over where I burned a couple of years ago, and now you can see, like, it did kill a lot of it, but you still see where there's green, what part that didn't kill or was coming back. So maybe that would be a area too to go in and hit, with the chemical, because it's easier to see. But I think you got to tackle it, like you said, just the same way that we do with, like, farms. I got so many farms. It's like, how do you look at everything? It's so overwhelming. Say, well, just take one at a time. But I think you just take, okay, let's do from the creek up to the alfalfa field, and let's do that side. And then we'll come across, tackle this side. But
chemical and fire are your best friend for a woods, is what I tell people. Those are your 2 best tools to get it back under control. So like right here, we have greenbrier. It's a multiflora rose mixed in with it. This stuff is some of the hardest stuff and you don't want to get it.
Yeah.
The second it gets a hold of you, it does not want to let go, and it hurts bad. So foliar system's really the only best way to get rid of it, I found. Same thing with your multiflora right here.
So what's this vine compared to that vine?
That one would be a multiflora. This green one is a greenbrier. Like I said, they're pretty well. They're kind of the same, but I don't like this greenbrier at all. Just because
the thorns on it.
You can see just how nasty the thorns are. Whereas Most of the time your multiflora kind of stays at ground level. It will go up into your trees. That's when it's really starting to be a prominent threat for your trees. You know, your oaks, they're trying to damage them. Greenbrier primarily loves to go up your trees for the most part.
What is this then?
Grapevine. So it is parasitic to your trees, and I cut every single one. The best way to cut one is find your base. Once you find your base, make your cut on both leads right here on it, but then make you a gap. Cut about 2 to 3 inches out to where it can't bridge and form back, and then spray your bottom with your glyphosate mixture. Because what all this grapevine is going to do is spread over from top to top to top and damage your crown of your tree to where it'll finally kill your trees is what I might like to say.
So you wouldn't just cut that at the base
you can,
and spray it right at the base where it starts there?
You can. You know, I like to leave a little bit right here just so I'm not possibly taking my saw down into the dirt or anything like that.
Suppose.
So if I cut here, I know I'm at least not going to hit dirt, and spray it, and you're golden.
Yeah, right.
Right here. And when you have your canopy this high, mid canopy, you're not really getting a whole lot of regeneration growth right now. The only thing that is wanting to grow is your invasives. If you look on your ground, you don't really see many oak or hickory or any type of other seedlings right now.
Yeah.
So we do need to do a canopy reduction in here sometime, but first we have to take get these invasives under control.
Well, that's the big thing. I didn't want to do any place where we have all the multiflora rows. We don't really do the TSI there, because you just open it up and just poof, then they just explode.
You ignited a fire.
Right.
Already hard to control.
Yeah, so it's not even as bad here. You can see that's probably why the deer are just, they got their highways through this places where you can walk. Yeah, so you can see like where it was all the small trees thicker, that's where all the deer highways are, so you can move through that, and you get to where it gets a little bit more sunlight in there, and it just takes over. I mean, you try to walk through that, you can't even get through. You see like the deer trails are here going that way. They don't even, nothing even going that way.
Yeah.
But that's why you don't really want to do any timber stand improvement stuff until you take care of this. You can see how where it has more of a canopy over there, it's not as much. You get here where it starts opening up a little bit, and it's a mess. Look at that hillside over there, it's just green.
Yeah, you can look right here and see how much lower your basal acre is, which means how many less trees we have, per square mile or foot.
Acre or whatever, yeah.
But then you look over here where you have a heavier basal acre. You don't have near as much regeneration growth. You're not growing the best quality of trees, but here we are with a crap ton of invasives that need to be taken care of first. Yeah,
so I just over the next year or two, just keep coming back to this. It was like, let's just take, like I said, you just got to take it in pieces.
Yes.
And it would just take like that side down to the end, which is only a few hundred yards. And then once you get past like the alfalfa field, I don't really care that much. So we'll just want to go up the other side of the bean field there and just start here and work that way. And this hopefully we'll be coming back and filming something here and saying, look at this beautiful timber in here now that deer actually can use and stuff, instead of just walking through it. Well, that it's
if we could do our foliar spray, knock it down, get a really good kill on everything, follow up with a burn, this property would look completely different in a year and a half, 2 years tops.
Right.
With that chemical and burn, you're going to activate a lot of your natural forbs, new seedling growth from your acorns and everything else, and you're going to get regeneration growth. Yeah, you're still going to get more. You're still going to get some multiflora roses and stuff to come back, but you're just going to have to stay on top of it. But the way it sits right now, if we didn't do a single thing, like we said, we see it here, we see it migrating. Sooner or later, it'll be the entire piece, and then we have a full-blown infestation on our hands.
Yeah, because like when we first bought this place, I mean, we've had this farm for 15 years now, probably. I mean, there was some multiflora rose. It wasn't like this, but she never really minded. It's like, well, it's not terrible, you know. You see me eating on it a lot, even. So you're like, oh, it's just some patches here and there, but pretty soon it takes over. It takes over your entire farm, and you can't even walk through it.
Realize it until you're like, oh wow, it's that prominent now.
Yeah, because you used to be able to walk through when we first got there. We used to be able to walk through this. So we'd walk the sides and pick up sheds and to shed hunt and stuff. And now you start going, it's like, man, I can't even walk in this stuff.
And like if you don't want to walk through it, the deer don't want to walk.
I know it. You think, oh, they got this cover in here, but really it's like you're cutting it you guys, it's like an eighth of the cover that it used to be, where they used to walk through and bed in here. Look through that stuff. There's not a deer trail in there. They don't want to walk through that either.
No. So
as they were talking about, we can't really come in here like with my skid steer and do it. I mean, look at the hillsides and this stuff. I mean, maybe the small areas you can, but you can't even, for where we walked right now, you can't even get in here. You literally have to cut all this by hand, and I'm not even sure how you do that, but you can see the sea of multiple rows and the greenbrier stuff. So it's basically our option are come in here and hit it with the foliar one.
Yeah.
And what are the chemicals that you use on this?
You'll want to do a glyphosate and triclopyr mixture of about 1.5–2% for whatever size sprayer you're using. I have a 60-gallon UTV tank, so I anywhere from 64 to 128 ounces, just depends on. I like triclopyr a lot more than I do glyphosate. Glyphosate's more of a complete burn down. Triclopyr is a little bit more broadleaf and selective, but it does stay in the soil a little bit. So, if you use your backpack pump sprayer, you're going to want to come up and spray the entire foliar system on this stem. So you've got to hit all the leaves on it all at once, and that's what's going to get your kill. Or if you're using your blower, be very selective, close to it, to where you're hitting the entire stem and going that route. But glyphosate and triclopyr are your two main chemicals.
Okay, we'll put it up on the screen, the chemicals and the ratios and stuff too, so if you have to remember. But see, I was thinking that once it had leaves like this, you could spray it, but you're saying right now it's taken from the ground up.
Yes. It's
putting all its moisture and its nutrients up to leaf it out. So if you put it on there, it's not going into the roots and killing it. So
you'll get a what we call a flash kill on the leaves, but it's actually not going to go down into the stem itself and get a good kill. We wait a couple weeks after it's flowered and get into a little bit hotter season, summer, early, let's say May, June, somewhere in there. That's when you're really going to get a really good kill on this multiflora rose.
Yeah, see, that's something that I wouldn't have thought of. I thought, okay, now it's got leaves, it's going to suck it in, but now it's pushing everything up, and you wait till it starts pulling back down and getting into the roots. But basically, what we're saying is the same ratio of glyphosate to triclopyr. So it's like 3 ounces per gallon of water of each one of those. So it'd be like 3 ounces of glyphosate, 3 ounces of triclopyr to get 1 gallon.
1 gallon
of water, and then you can put a little crop oil in there if you want. But like you said,
or if you want to do the poor man's way, diesel would work just as well. And you're going to get a good kill on it. You can be at that 1.5. You could even be higher. It just depends on how you want to run it. I would at least stay at least 1.5 or up is where I would stay at.
So like 3 is like. Yeah. Okay, but it wouldn't hurt to go 5 each if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, glyphosate's pretty cheap for the most part. You can get it at Rural King. You can get it Tractor Supply, 41% for $59 for 2.5 gallons. Triclopyr, you're starting to get up into there. Remedy Ultra is what I use. It's 61 to 67% triclopyr. It gets a little bit more expensive, but it is a little bit more selective and better of a herbicide. So, I just don't want to tell people don't be going and dumping 10 ounces and doing a burn to where you're burning the leaves off, you're not letting it go through the system like it needs to. You want it to be a nice, slow kill, go through there a couple of days, not just a flash burn.
Okay, so it's not necessarily better to make it hotter.
A lot of people say it is. It's really not. Do a nice, slow kill. That way it goes through the entire system. So
good point, I wouldn't have thought about that. So just that 3% is about the 3 ounces, 3 ounces per gallon.
Well, because, old timers are like, oh, just dump it in there and put as much as you want. Well, we learned now that it's probably not the best thing to really be doing. So let's tone it down and let it actually do its work, or do the work.
Right. All right, let's go look at the open timber stuff. But like I said to everybody, that's why I'm sure there's other people, not just me, but I look at this and you're just like, it's like overwhelming. What can you do?
Yeah.
But that's, I wasn't really thinking of the other, the fogger ones that we use for mosquitoes and stuff. You can kind of go through a little bit faster, but I guess, like I said, you just got to take a small piece at a time, do it, and take the next small piece. And because I guess once you start doing that, is there a time frame? They said you don't want to start until it flowers out, which, what is it today, April, like 12th or something like that? Okay. So if we went to the end of April or beginning of May, maybe when you could start doing it. But is there a time frame where it's too late?
Yeah. So, your trees are going to be or lose their leaves first, and then you're going to see all the invasives again in October into middle of November, just depending on what type of weather you're having. If we had a really early frost or we had a late frost. I've sprayed all the way up into Octobers before and still got a really, really good kill on stuff.
Oh, so you have all summer to do it if you want.
You have all summer. Now,
it's not a small window, but
when it gets extremely hot, 110-degree days, they do there is a thing called wax leaf where it's so darn hot, they're not sucking up anything and they're not going to get a good kill. You don't have to worry about that. It's primarily more in the woods, more out on, the outside.
Yeah, it's no different than your weeds in your field. So it gets super hot. They're not sucking anything in at that point. You're not getting a kill on weeds when it's super hot and dry.
But for the most part in the woods, you'll be fine from any time. Let's just say easily from May to end of October, you can probably get a pretty darn kill on stuff.
It just gets to be more of a miserable time to be in here when the hotter it gets and ticks and everything else.
That's why a lot of people don't like it or don't like doing it, is because it's a hard, nasty job, and but unfortunately that's when the mosquitoes, the ticks, everything's out there just wanting to try to kill you. That's when you really need to be in the woods, kind of taking care of it.
Okay, so now we use like Garlon and Arsenal, a couple of things like when we ring the trees, and that's what we spray on them, something like that. So when we're spraying this stuff, if it's just hitting, like say all these, like any oaks and stuff in here, it's not going to kill those. What if it hits their leaves?
It will. It'll kill those leaves that it directly hits. But I mean, unless it's just a really small oak, a seedling, it's not going to affect bigger trees at all. It will affect the small seedlings if you hit them. So you want to be pretty precise with it, and try to be on target, no off target spraying stuff. And then also, the biggest thing is I always tell people, it's kind of like deer hunting, play the wind. You don't want to be downwind and spraying up into your face and getting chemical all over you. So you want to be up on the hillside and kind of already have an idea where you're wanting to go and not being downwind of it per se. So.
All right. Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Like maybe you did it this time of year when that's the only thing leafed out, because none of the other trees are that might kill those trees if it hit those, but that's not the case.
Yeah, no.
It just it'll kill this stuff. But let's say that oak tree there, that size, even see all the branches down here, if that was full of leaves and it got on that, it wouldn't kill that tree.
It wouldn't kill the tree. It would hurt the bottom limbs. Would it probably kill the bottom limb? No, just try to be very selective. Very, very selective of it. I mean, we're not using a basal mixture, we're using a foliar, so it's such a low dosage that it's not going to hurt the bark, it's not going to hurt the top of the tree, it's just going to selectively hit what we're spraying.
Yeah, because you look at this, I mean, like, obviously it's all mixed into that tree. Yep. So if you hit this part, you're probably gonna hit that tree too. But it doesn't matter to me if you kill the leaves on here, if you kill the bottom branch, as long as it's not killing. You're not gonna kill an entire tree doing that.
Yeah. So you think of it like this too. A logger likes a 16-foot log. So in a normal setting, we want what we call natural pruning, where if a tree's nice and close, he's going to try to grow up and straight. So the lower limbs are going to die off anyways, like this, and make you a better log sooner or later.
Well, I know if you were doing just for timber, they say you get like that, you want to keep cutting all the bottom branches off, and it'll grow up without any of this stuff. Yep. You could prune them all. But all right, let's go look at the other timber. Probably like, whoo, don't have to do this right now.
That's why I was telling you, you've got really nice white oaks. Yep.
Okay, so this is. It might be a little different. This isn't the spot. We'll go over there too. But this is kind of the same stuff that would grow up. Just it's like big viney stuff, and it's thorny as heck. And like we have mowed and burned this before, and I just didn't get to it. I wanted to get switchgrass and stuff in here. But like this, this isn't gonna kill it because I've done this before, and it all just comes right back up again. So I think. So the question is, if I can just mow all this down. And then I got to spray it anyway, because I hadn't sprayed it before, because I was like, okay, let's get all the bigger trees out and stuff. But all this thorny stuff would come up, and I just ran out of time. But so now I'm just letting it green up like this, and then I'll probably mow this down. But then I can take my big sprayer even, and come in here and spray it. Which I was going to just do Roundup and atrazine in here, and then in June or whenever make sure this is all dead, and then come in and plant the mixture of the switchgrass and all this stuff.
No, you're
But
good.
will Roundup and like atrazine kill this if I mow it off? If it would be enough on the stumps in here to keep this from coming back up again?
You know, it'll have to come up and get a little bit greener. It's definitely going to help it a lot. But what you did here with the burn is your best tool. You've knocked it back and really suppressed it. Yeah, it's going to try to come back, but yeah, I think by coming back in with your sprayer, letting it green up a little bit, you'll knock it down even more.
Well, I suppose now once I have it in, and it's really nice CRP coming in, you're going to burn that still, and you're going to like even mow it again. So you just kind of prevent that from coming. But I think once we cut that off, and if it exposes the open, if we spray it on there, would maybe kill that.
Because as we can see,
yeah, it's not dead.
this is kind of perfect. You burn it, but it's already trying to come back off of buds right underneath the ground, so it's going to come right back.
Yeah, you see the buds right there.
The buds are right there. So he's done the right thing by burning it. Coming up with a foliar after it starts budding back out is going to be the best thing. And then sitting there, also spreading your new seed in through there, kind of choke it out.
Okay.
Be your best bet.
So the plan was like we're not planting like our CRP grasses and stuff, our warm season grasses in here until like June.
Yes.
So if I mow all this off now to get nice and smooth here, because I just didn't want to be running my sprayers over this, and I'd probably just take my big John Deere with a 100-foot boom and just go through this in 2 seconds.
I think you'll be fine. Like I said, just let it come back up off the stump a little bit to where you're getting some green growth. That's going to be your best bet. If you tried to mow it right now, you're really just kind of wasting your time.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mow it off just so I don't, if I do use the Ranger sprayer, so you're not just ripping through your scratching the crap out of it, just to get it lower so it's not, you can just go over the top of it easy.
Yeah.
But I think we'll probably do maybe like 2 sprays on it before we plant.
Yep.
But then that'll like maybe kill the grass. Now I just don't want the grass getting too tall. It'll kill it while it's young anyway.
Yep.
Easier to kill it. But then on the second one, before we go in and plant, this stuff will probably all be greening up. You'll get that second. And that's what they recommended when we did the CSP. They said they want you to spray it twice to make sure everything's dead, and then go in there and plant it.
Yeah, if you're gonna have a low spraying boom, absolutely mow it down. If you got a higher sprayer boom where you're gonna, let's say you're not gonna do it, you're gonna hire FS or your local co-op with a bigger, higher boom.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't need to per se. You just let it grow back up. But if you're like me, smaller boom, too close to the ground, mow it down, let that new growth come up because you can already see it's coming. It's gonna come back. And then
that's a perfect example. I was like, is it dead? Well, no, I guess it's not
found
dead.
out real quick.
It's coming back. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we got it all killed. Yeah, right.
But you did right. By burning it, getting it stunted and everything, you're going to get new forbs to be coming up anyway. So you did the right thing here.
Yeah, I think what I will do is, like I said, mow that down, spray it once, and then when we get closer to time to planting, let everything else come up. We get all of our row crop stuff will be planted by June. And so then, now we'll spray this one more time, and then we'll come in with the CRP mix stuff that we have for the CSP. We have all the bags of the mix with all the different flowering stuff and everything. So this is one of the pieces.
Local FSA and RCS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we did some last year, but I do like 26 acres left this year, and this is part of that. Yeah. 26 acre
Well, a lot of
piece
people
they do
don't
this
realize
year.
that they can get really good quality seed mixes from their NRCS FSA at a pretty darn good price.
Right.
And, for this field, it's going to be perfect for it.
That's what we were talking about last year. We did one on the CSP because like this hadn't been planted. I mean, obviously it's been planted on that side and stuff, but it's not. This is just for deer, so it's never a crop history, so you can't get CRP in it. So it's like the CSP was perfect program for us because I want this to look like nice, beautiful grass and stuff in here rather than all this dang thorny stuff that we've been talking about. But so the CSP was the program that we wanted to put in you put in where it's not, it has to be stuff that's not row crop. So I got that mixture from them, and plus we got the crop share on it. So you at least get partially paid for it. You're not just doing it all out of our own pocket.
And Quails Forever, Pheasants Forever work hand in hand with NRCS and do their seed mixtures, and they'll recommend the local biologist will recommend what hey, this is what I would plant on. This is what the soil says is good for, and I've actually done it on my own ground, and I love it. It's really turned my ground around over there. I did a CP4D mixture of pollinator plus with a clover Timothy red top around my entire perimeter of 15 foot for a fire break. And then I was able to put pockets of about 17, 18 on 22 acres of four trees in each pocket, along with then blinds going in, or shrub rows going into my blinds of American plum, Chickasaw plum, gray dogwood, fragrant sumac, elderberry, and 30 foot wide now, where I'll be completely concealed going into my stand by these shrubs. Sooner or later I'll have my pollinator plus for all my deer bedding, bees, everything else.
Right.
It's just a darn good program. Plus,
Right, that's what we were talking about
share.
for down in that other piece, 'cause it's, like, obviously we're doing it for deer.
Yep.
But, like this, it was good cover at one time, but then when those thorns just started taking over,
Yes.
everything just started, taking over. And you're just like, you're losing your whole damn farm.
And once you get this back up to snuff, with your mixture you're going to go with, you'll be surprised at just how many deer are bedding out in here left and right.
Right.
They're going to have the wind in their favor most of the time on a hillside. So for predators, everything, this will be a really nice spot.
So I think, like I said, let's come in here and mow it all, and then when I'll just keep spraying it a couple times,
Yep.
we'll spray it again. But what I was wondering is, like, when I normally would I'm going to spray, Roundup and atrazine, like you would normally do for, just your CRP grass stuff. But will that kill that, or should I do something like you're saying for what we're spraying on the foliar stuff? Would I mix some of that in here, because it's not planted yet, so I don't care what it kills, but if it does have a residual on some of it, then you're going to be planted, you might not want to do that. So
This is a calorie pear and or Bradford pear. If you have them on your property, kill them, fire. I don't care how you get rid of them, just get rid of them. They're extremely invasive. And it's funny that places like North Carolina and some states even have a bounty on these trees. For every one you take out, they pay you to get rid of them, because they became such a problem. Even out in your woods, you'll just start seeing them. So like right now is the perfect time. If you were driving down the interstate or you're in the woods and you see something already white with flowers, you're like, oh, that's pretty. Well, it's not a gray dogwood or anything. It's a calorie or Bradford pear, and they're extremely brittle. They break really, really easy. They're not good for any type of timber quality, but they will.
This doesn't put any fruit on it either?
It'll put out little bitty berries and everything. And
So it's not like a regular pear?
No,
Yeah.
not even close to a regular pear. And they're horrible. The bad thing is people like Lowe's, Menards, all of them, they still sell these trees, and we need to be getting rid of every single one of them we've got.
Yeah, because this is the only one that we've ever seen like this, so I just come in, we'll just cut it down, because we plant the pear trees obviously to put the big pears on for deer. They just grow better than apple trees, and they're just hardier and they're easier to grow here at least than apple trees. So we do tons of them. But this is one that obviously we didn't. But like you said, we're sitting here, you hear all the bees on it.
Oh, it's chock full of bees right now.
And so, but that's why you look at this stuff here, which has been in CRP grass. We're putting all this now is in the pollinator. So we're going to burn this off, and we'll put all these fields that we see that burned are going to have all the pollinator stuff. And as you see how many bees are just on anything flowering, but within the next year or two, when all this stuff comes up, we'll have fields and fields, like 30 to 40 plus acres on this farm right here, that will have all the pollinator flowering stuff for bees. So don't get pissed off at us that we're cutting your tree down. We're giving you a whole bunch more here.
We're giving
coming.
We're going to be giving you something native that you really want, not something that we don't really want in this area.
Yeah.
They are cross between a hybrid is what they really are, and they were planted for ornamental, and then everybody started planting up and down their driveways and everything, and they've just slowly started to spread everywhere. And
yeah, it is pretty, but like I said, if I'm going to have a flower, something like that, I want pears. I want something that gives a bunch of pears on the ground that deer eat.
I just can't stress enough that there's so many better options out there to plant native than there is a native, and this is definitely not a native that we just don't want on a farm at all.
It's weird. It's the only one that I've ever seen.
Yep.
When you just pointed out from the other side, I was like, no, I didn't plant that one.
Yep.
So that's funny. We were just talking about that. Oh, this is the only one I've seen around here. But then you look and say, oh, wait a minute. There's one right here, and they're right over there. Okay, there's one right there. So that's how they spread. Like I said, then also this would just start taking over. So.
Yep.
But if it was I wonder why you don't see that like on the regular pear trees. that they're just coming up like that, or maybe the deer,
Well,
you may start eating them all right there. But
deer and animals are eating them so quick that they're not really having the chance type scenario. But with these, they're kind of like an autumn olive and bush honey. They produce so much that the little birds, when the birds do eat them and poop them out or they drop, they're just spreading more and more.
Yeah, it's probably good to get it out of here then, because that's the first one. Like I said, when you look around, you don't see anything else white. It was just the pear trees that I planted that are here. This is the only one of its kind here right now. So let's probably get that out before they all start taking off.
Yep.
Okay, we kind of changed it up from our original plan over on our other farm that has all the multiflora rows. And I didn't really want to go in there and do any TSI stuff until we kill that. It was, I was thinking since it was leaved out, we could probably spray it now, but you said it's not far enough along. So it's like, okay, no sense in doing the TSI there, but we've got a dozen farms. A lot of them need the TSI work. And you see like up in here, this is just all a bunch of series of ridges. We've been talking about this forever to try to get up here and do some of these ridges, because they all bed up in here, but we've had like one stand back in here, but just going in the mornings and stuff, you run everything out and trying to get out and everything, because they can see you for 300 yards in here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a couple of these ridges in here. And so we've done a lot of it. We saw some that we've done on the way in, but this, you're just kind of interested to see what somebody, you do it professionally as a forester, how you would do it compared to the way that we would do it, and you're always trying to learn something. So we'll go down a little ways. You can see, but in here I see a little bit of, there's just a little bits of multiflora rows starting, but you can see the obvious difference from our other farm. Like this one, I'm not too worried about that just taking off. Not that we couldn't go in there and spray some of this stuff, but it's not like, oh my gosh, we open this thing up, it's going to be a disaster, next year or something. So we'll go down and see, we got the food plot there, and we'll leave that side so you can see if you're hunting on that food plot, that you can still see through that pretty good, and have them when they're coming up that hill. So we'll start like from this side and go this way. And let's just pick a ridge. Maybe we'll just pick one even in there a little ways to do. Okay, so this is a pretty good example of what we're talking about. The invasives are already under control on here. We don't have a problem here. You should be able to look through. This time of year, you don't see any green. Like, what a difference compared to what we were just looking at this morning. That's why we don't want to go in there and do the TSI work there to open that up, and that invasive will just explode on you. So this is what you want to kind of get if you have open timber, this is where you the way you want to see it before you do the TSI work, because it's not going to explode on your invasives on it. But now with all the ash trees have died, now they've all fallen over, so it looks like there's a little bit, it's not as open as it was several years ago, but there's still just the ash trees have fallen. There's still all these hickories and like all the ironwoods and that kind of stuff. We want to get out of here and just get better timber in these ridges. That's where they like to bed. You see it's south-facing slope on that side, and so I'm not as worried about the north-facing slope. It's mostly during hunting season they all bed up on these south-facing slopes. So that's where we'll start at.
So another thing to kind of point out is like you said, you don't have any green growth in here. Is you've got such a high upper canopy and mid canopy you're in here right now that everything's being restricted from growing. There's no regeneration growth of seedlings or oaks, hickories, or anything. It's pretty open for the most part. So the goal here today is to open this up, get some new regeneration growth on the ground as far as seedlings of oaks, hickories, everything else, and get some better habitat, bedding, new food source, everything on the south facing slope over there. So that's
right, because right now there's like such high deer numbers in here, and they're just relying on our food plots.
Yep.
And they just annihilate them.
Yep.
But that's a good example of what we were talking about earlier. This has got so much timber. It's just a big giant block of timber, and the food plots are small that we doze them in, other than the field out in front. But we're saying 80% of their diet is browse, and there isn't any under here, really. I mean, it's not much under here. So that's what we're trying to do on all our timber stands here, is try to get more browse and good food, not just in the food plots, but in the timber as well, and to get acorns and production and stuff like that. So, all right, well, like I said, we saw what we've done over on this farm over that side. I just like to see how you guys do it. I was just trying to learn something.
I want you to start down on that ridge or on that side over there. I'll stay on this side where we're a little bit further away from each other. Let's work down to this ridge towards the bottom, and just kind of go zigzag back and forth to where we're not on top of each other.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Okay. Brett, just carry the backpack, stay,
I'll be the mule.
yep, stay in the back for a little bit and be good to go.
Get the backpack full of beer. We'll pick up the lawn chairs and watch and see how.
Yeah.
That used to not work, dude. There's not a lot of hickory in here to get rid of. All right, well, I got my own work to do, so I'm gonna let these guys go here for a bit, and I think you can see it before, we'll shoot an after, and then in a month or two, or in a month from now, when the multiflora roast is ready to go, we'll have them come back and we'll do that, and we'll take a look at, what this looks like, and we'll pick up there. So once again, thanks for watching, and just stay tuned for the next month or so when we're doing the other one. We'll show you the results and how actually spraying the multiflora roast and things. Right now, we'll show it before and after, but again, thanks for watching.
Right there, we've opened up enough basal acre also to help, get more sunlight to the ground, but you can already see here are 2 crop trees. Yeah, they're young, but this is what we want to grow. We're overstocked with hickory on this stand abundantly, and I want to reduce the hickory a good portion to try to get some more oak regeneration instead of hickory. So to do that, larger hickories really need to come out that aren't ever going to make good log quality to begin with, but these are your quality. This is what attracts more deer. Your white oaks are your better, more superior tree.